Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Hello and welcome to the show. Do you ever wonder whether you actually have anything to say to the world? Do you wonder about your thought leadership, your thoughtful leadership, or even the value of your thoughts? Because I hear this a lot, and I just wanted to chat with you today about what happens, why we go through this, and what to do with it. Because I'm going to start with a very strong belief that I have, and that is the world really does need your contribution, your unique contribution of thoughts, ideas, insights, whatever you want to call it. We'll get to that, but let's talk about what goes on and what stops most people. And they do kind of fall into the category of fears. The biggest fear that people have is a fear of rejection or not being accepted. And that stops a lot of people doing a lot of things. So when it comes time to sharing your thoughts in a podcast, in a book, article, video, whatever, many people shy away from it. They don't actually want to record themselves. They don't want to write something or publish something for fear that it won't land the way they want. But what is underneath that thought is the reason why they think it'll be rejected. And it's usually not personal, although we can take everything personally, can't we? But it's usually wondering whether the ideas have any value, wondering if they are good enough, and of course, wondering if we are good enough. I go through this. All of my clients go through it. Everyone I've ever met has gone through it at least once or twice, and for some people, very often, every day. It's natural. So I don't know if that makes you feel better, but everybody goes through it. The reason why we go through it is we see a lot of rubbish out there. We see and hear a lot of content that doesn't add value, or that we even think is poor quality or wrong or reflects badly on the author. And then we don't want to be like that. So we have a high standard. I have a high standard for myself, and I think you do too. So this is good news. What happens, though, is that it's not perfectionist, because I am not a perfectionist by any means. However, if I think too much about it, I begin to think, oh, is it robust enough? Is it interesting enough? Is it original enough? Is it good enough? And many other enoughs. And nobody can ever answer that question. Well, I can't answer that question, and you can't until you put something together and send it out into the world. And then the market will decide. You know this, and maybe that is enough to make you fearful. But what I suggest is if you take your time like a true thoughtful leader and put down some things that you would really, really like to say to your market or to the world, jot some things down before committing and explore. Explore it with a friend, a mastermind community, a mentor, a coach. If you're in my community, you can always ask me what I think. I will just tell you what I think, which doesn't mean it's good, bad, right, wrong, or anything else. But Until you actually start playing with ideas, then they're still in your head. And that's not a great place for them, because going back to my first comment to you, you do have something to say, and the world really does need your personal contribution. They do. What do you have to say that is so special? Well, it's usually the intersection between your expertise or professional guidance and content and your experience and your personal take on things and your style, your personality, your humor. And those things come together. They then intersect with a need that's out there. That's the best way I can put it. I was going to call it something else, but if people have a need to hear what you have to say, then you kind of have an obligation to put something together, package it up, and give it to them. So this could be answers to big questions that they have. It could be guidance when they're quite lost and you have answers and you have the guidance to provide because of your area of work. So just think about your career for a moment. This is the easiest thing for most people. Hopefully you've had some experience working, and therefore you have experience or even expertise. So if you think about your topic and the kinds of things that you wish you could say to your clients, to your prospects, or to the market at large, what are those things? If you're driving, you won't be able to do this now, but if you're at your desk, you can write down a few things that you wish you could say to the market. Where is it that people really are confused, or they don't get it, or they're listening to bad advice? That's usually a good place to start. And what they're listening to and what they're starting to believe is not right. It's not true. In fact, it can be dangerous. And you, in fact, have a different perspective. You see where I'm going with this? This is something that you will get used to doing, and you can do it over and over again. Because if you're not going to put it together, who will? No one else is capable of putting together that exact combination of experience, insights, guidance, personality, stories, expertise, humor, everything that I was talking about, and blending it together in a way that will land with your market and teach them something, or make them think about something, or entertain or inspire them, or all of the above. But if you don't do it, then you get none of the above. And they get none of the above. You get no recognition. You get no satisfaction, fulfillment, business, whatever may come from putting stuff out there. But they miss out. And for some people, this is what gets them over the hump. So you might be reluctant to do a podcast or do a video or write a book or a series of articles if you think it's about stroking your own ego. And I understand that. I really can't stand thinking about doing stuff and saying stuff just for the sake of it to make me look good. If I think about that, I wouldn't do it. No, I do it because of you. I do it thinking about you and how we're connecting at this moment, and how possibly a couple of words that I say would resonate with you and inspire you to take action, to do something, to create something. That's what my work's all about. And if I think about that, that spurs me on. That motivates me to do my work. And so you can borrow that. You can do the same, because nobody else can present your expertise and your insights and your stories and your message the way that you can. I don't know if this is surprising to you, but let's unpack this a little bit. So why am I so confident that you have something to say? Well, partly it comes from me spending 2 decades working with business professionals, working with people who have experience, who have an area of expertise, a niche, if you call it that, or they've been through something, but they've kind of earned their stripes. They don't need to have 10,000 hours of experience, as I've said many times. There's no number that you can put on it, but they have something to say that comes from their experience. And that is where we start. So I have met thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the past 20 years, and I've been blessed to work with over 1,000 of them. And I've heard the stories, and I've seen the depth of substance and the messages and the content and the stories that come out when they sit down and focus. So I know it's there. So how do we mine for this? How do we discover this? Well, this is the work I do. And if you ever want to hear more about it, just contact me. Find me. I'm very easy to find online and offline. But what we do is take a look at all the possible things that you could say to your market, that you could share with your market, and then pick the one or two or three that are going to have the biggest impact. And when I say impact, let's go one level deeper with that. It can have a financial impact for your client. It can have a beneficial impact on their emotional or mental well-being. It can have any kind of impact that you would have if you work with them. So if you're working, you're already having an impact. Know that, right? Are you willing to accept that? You're already making an impact and having an impact on people. So if you're looking at writing, speaking, publishing, filming, all of the content stuff, then you are simply parlaying that into a package that somebody can consume. It doesn't really matter what it is. I was doing a webinar earlier, and there was one moment where I started talking about the different versions of a book, and just one particular title where we published it in hardback, paperback, 4 formats of ebook, and an audiobook, as well as 17 different language and translation and licensed editions. So there are 21 versions of that particular book out there in the world. 21. And that's the same content in about 15 different languages and many formats. In fact, there's more because those language editions have audiobooks, ebooks, printed books. There's probably about 35 to 40 different manifestations of that one book. And that one book was done with the utmost care and thoughtfulness about exactly what should be in and the angle or angles and the content, the stories. The book could have been twice as long as it was, but the author was discerning. I don't have the book here; it's behind me, and I'm not going to grab it while I'm talking to you. It's called The $1 Billion Secret. If you've been wondering, you may know it. And I was talking about that book with a view to inspiring other people to do it once and then get it distributed across the globe. That's possible for you. But first, you have to sit up, take a deep breath, and own the fact that you do have something to say. I had something to say today, and I chose to record this for you because it's important for me to continue to get my message out and to try many different angles and messages and stories, and hopefully some of them resonate with some people, including you. I know that sounds very glib. The purpose of today was to make you stop and think, are you allowing other people to be seen as the experts? Are you allowing everyone else to get the kudos, to get the recognition, and you are there waiting in the wings? You are there with just as much knowledge, with just as many ideas, with the quality of ideas and content, maybe even thought-leading ideas, real thoughtful content that you can put out there and help people with. I don't know, but that's why we get together every week and talk about it. And maybe there's something that you're not saying to the market. So what is it? What is it that you really wish you could talk about, explain, or persuade the market about? What is it? And that is the place to start today. You definitely know enough. You've definitely done enough. Even if you've only worked with 1 or 2 clients, you've learned things from those experiences. And that is where we start. If you think about other people, you may have noticed this if you've been to any conferences, if you've watched anything online, you may watch someone and think, but they're not really saying anything. I've heard it all before. That's fine, because sometimes people need to hear things again. Sometimes they need some reinforcement. And yeah, okay, if the whole hour is something that you've not heard before, you might feel you've wasted your time. But I would argue that there's been some kind of angle or something. And I would admire that person for putting themselves out there, because most people don't. It's a lot easier nowadays, isn't it? You have blogging, social media, videos like this, live streaming, and podcasts. And those of you listening to the podcast will say, where's the video? It's on my channel, right? Look for the Thoughtful Leader podcast on YouTube. So we're really trying to open our arms and embrace everybody. Am I always saying something new, exciting, original, different, groundbreaking? I don't think so. I mean, if I thought about that, I would, really get myself into a tailspin and I'd never produce anything. So what gets you out of that? Well, usually it's what I was talking about before. It's thinking about the other person. Think about your potential client or reader or listener of your podcast or whatever audience member, if you're a speaker. Think about them. Think about where they are. Think about what they need, their needs, their wants, their life, their challenges, their confusion, the questions they have. It gets the focus away from yourself. I do it every day. And that is the only way that I can get myself to produce any content whatsoever. Because if it was about me, I would never do it. Never, ever, ever, ever. I'm a reluctant speaker. I'm even a reluctant author. I know, hard to believe. It's because I think there's a purpose, and I cannot guarantee that my message is going to land with that person or even with you. I cannot guarantee anything. I cannot guarantee how many people will respond. And of course, I've brought this back to myself now to make you hopefully feel a bit more comfortable. We're all in this together. Human nature is, by nature, very fragile. We are vulnerable. We are human. And this is not natural. Not everybody was speaking. Remember, before the internet, this is my favorite example. Before the internet, if you were around at that time, very few people would speak on a stage or write a book or record something. Now, it's all over. It's prolific. It's ubiquitous. There's many thousands and millions of people producing stuff because they can. But does that mean all of a sudden that everybody's a natural? No way. Most people have to get over the fears and the blocks. And most people have that same thought in their mind, which is, who, me? What do I have to say? And flipping that to what does that other person really need to hear makes a big difference. That's what I've been talking about now. In the last couple of minutes that we have together, I would like to challenge you. I would like to challenge you to get out of your comfort zone and do one thing that you've never done before. It could be a live stream. It could be Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live. It could be recording a video and putting it on social media or TikTok. I think you can do quite a short one on TikTok. I don't do them, but you could. Or writing an opinion piece. It could be just 100 words, but writing something about your opinion and putting it online or sending it to your newsletter list if you have one. Do something to get out of your comfort zone and begin to share a really important idea that you've not been sharing or not been sharing enough, and see how it feels to spread your wings a bit. Yes, scary, but also exciting, because you can begin to touch people's lives, people who maybe weren't engaging with you before, probably weren't. That's you don't even know what you don't know. You don't know who you're missing, and you don't know who's missing out on you and your content. That's what I wanted to invite you to do. And then the next bit is, of course, tell me about it. Please feedback to me. Please email or message, connect with me, and let me know what you're up to. I'm not a big fan of joining lots of newsletter lists. I'll tell you that right now. But social media, I'm on it every day. I'm online and I can scroll pretty fast, and I will find your stuff and I will celebrate your stuff and you. And together we will make a bigger contribution. And that is what it's all about. You have that contribution to make. I'm right here with you, beside you, whispering in your ear. And I cannot wait to see and hear what it is that you have to produce and what it is that you have to say to the world once you realize that if it's not you, then who? Because it is you. Good luck and have fun. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.